מי שברך אמותינו, שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. מודים אנחנו לך שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו לעולם ועד. מודים אנחנו לך צור חיינו מגן ישנו אתה הוא לדור ודור. מודים אנחנו לך לעולם ועד. For the sun that rises in the east, for the seas that roar a prayer, for the stillness of a snowfall, for a breath of autumn air, for the grasp within my fingers, for a mind that makes me whole, for the voice that God has given me to speak the truth within my soul. Modim אנחנו לך, modim אנחנו לך, modim אנחנו לך לעולם ועד. ועל ניסך שבכל יום עמנו, שבכל יום עמנו. ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך ערב ובוקר וצהריים. For the laughter of the children, for the way they greet the day, with their endless stream of questions, they remind us how to play. And for the ones we call beloved, who take away our fear, they tell us without saying it, remember I am here, remember I am here. Modim אנחנו לך, modim אנחנו לך, modim אנחנו לך לעולם ועד. צור חיינו מגן ישנו אתה הוא לדור ודור. מודים אנחנו לך לעולם Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Let's try that together. Yallai, lai, lai, lai. Yallai, lai, lai, lai. Yallai, lai, lai, lai. Yallalai, yallalai. Yallai, lai, lai, lai. Yallai, lai, lai, lai. Yallai, lai, lai, lai. Yallalai, yallalai. Yallai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, yai, lai. Yallai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we pray twice. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we are one. When we sing, when we sing, When we sing, when we sing, we pray twice. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we are one. Shiru Ladonai. Sing a song to God. Shiru Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Ladonai. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we pray twice. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we are one.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So, Rabbi Lori Rice and Cantor Josh Goldberg here join me, Rabbi Flip, in welcoming you in person and those of us joining us online to Congregation Micah. We are unabashedly inclusive, and if you've been with us lately, clearly very innovative. And we're a synagogue that explores and celebrates Jewish life, that's really committed to building this community and to repairing the whole world. And our namesake, the biblical prophet Micah, he taught us that we are to achavat chesed, that we are to love mercy and compassion, and that we are to osei mishpat. That's an important one tonight. That we are to do justice, and that we are to tzneah lechet im Elohim, that we are to walk humbly with the divine. And our Torah portion this week, Shoftim, judges in English, instructs us to appoint magistrates and officials and leaders that they shall govern the people righteously. And Jews historically, we here at Micah, the inheritors of these great traditions, have placed a great emphasis on living lives of justice, of honesty and integrity, and of showing that compassion so that we advocate for the less fortunate. And as American Jews, we are also blessed to live in a free, democratic society where certain protections exist to ensure our liberties, freedoms that we Jews were not afforded in centuries past. And one of those protections is the free press. In order for us to make informed choices when we pick our elected representatives or we vote on certain issues, we need to know what's actually going on. We all want like a straight, honest story these days, yeah? We want to know it about a number of issues, and one of our local state watchdogs provides us an unvarnished report on public figures and other issues. The Tennessee Holler reminds us to be like a shofar, always yelling the truth and really shining a light on corruption and exposing any number of misdeeds by our authorities. At the very, very beginning of our story together, we learn of a power in the universe that also sheds light, helping bring order to chaos and light to darkness. And that is really our eternal mission. So tonight we're going to invite forward the editor-in-chief of the Tennessee Holler, Micah members and former Micah board member Justin and Nicole Canoe, as well as Barbara Dabb from our local Jewish newspaper, The Observer, to kindle our Sabbath lights. Thank you all for the work you do.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner v'tzivanu lehadlik ner v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la.
We welcome everyone here, especially the Sabbath and the Sabbath bride. Try and keep up with Cantor Josh here. I remind you, towards the end, I will signal and we'll welcome her in. I'm ready. Are you ready? Do you need me to keep talking?
Lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Yishmiyanu el hamyuchad Adonai echad O Shemo echad Shemo tiferet v'lein chila Lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela Likrat Shabbat lecho v'nelcha Ki him mekor haberacha Merosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat techila Lecha dodi Likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela Hitoreri Ki va'orech kumi ori Shir daberi Kevod Adonai Alayich nikla Lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela Boi v'shalom materet bala Gam b'simcha u'b'tzola Toch emunei am segula Boi chala Lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, lay, yay, lay, lay, lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Yay, lay, lay, yay, lay, lay, lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay.
The Shema is not a mathematical statement. Like it's not a report on the population of divine beings. I will admit that the Trinity threw a lot of the ancient rabbis. A Father, a Son, a Holy Ghost, a Holy Spirit. That doesn't sound very monotheistic. So, and it could lead to some hierarchical thinking like our God is their God's daddy. That's not what it is. It's not why the Shema is the watchword of our faith. Because rather than being a mathematical statement, it's a theological one. It's the insistence that God embraces all polarities. Male and female, young and old, scolding and forgiving, and everything in between. Everything finds its place in God. So God is maybe better translated as opposed to God is one, as God is all. Sing these ancient words with us, please.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. And you shall love Adonai with all your soul and all your might, and teach these words through day and night to all your children, for it's their right. And wear them proudly as a sign upon your hands, and as a crown above your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates throughout all time.
Everybody look out the pretty windows for a minute. And know this, Jews are not supposed to pray in rooms that don't have windows. Right? Because prayer for us is not supposed to be an escape from the world. We Jews don't pray and then go sit and wait for God to do something. That's not how our prayer works. Prayer allows us to see the world as God would want us to see it, and then to go do something about it. Marching with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Alabama, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, Alav Chashalom, may his memory still bless us, famously said, "I felt like my legs were praying." And Heschel was as passionate about social justice as he was about Sabbath observance. He taught us that prayer must be revolutionary, tapping into our own God-given abilities to transform the world from what it is into the way it should be. And that's part of the timeless message of the Exodus, voicing hope for any number of communities all through history, O house of Jacob, declared the prophet Isaiah, come, let us walk in the light of the Lord. To walk is, in short, to live one's life. To live one's life here at Micah, we walk humbly and gradually towards wisdom. And we do this by singing songs that inspire us, not to escape from the outside world, but to see its beauty and to feel that liberation and to help others get there. So walk in the light with us.
This is an African folk melody that we've combined with some Hebrew to bring this message of walking in the light and redemption together. We are walking in the light of God. 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 Let's try that together. We are walking in the light of God. 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 Repeat after me. We are walking, we are walking, we are walking. We are walking in the light of God. We are walking. We are walking. We are walking. We are walking in the light of God. 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 We are walking. We are walking. We are walking in the light of God. We are walking. We are walking. We are walking in the light of God. Now same melody, but with Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Kamocha nehedar ba'kodesh. Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nora, nora, tehilot, tehilot, osef eleh. Nora,
Nora,
tehilot,
tehilot,
osef eleh. We are walking in the light of God. We are walking in the light of God. We are walking in the light of God. We are walking in the light of God.
Lynn and Ron, you're on deck. We are in the month of Elul. That is the holy month leading up to the high holy days, and every day during the month of Elul, you should hear the shofar sounded. I hate to make you do this. It's just kind of a respectful thing. Will everyone, if it's easy for you, please rise? Okay, so we got a little report here from our social action committee. The shofar should awaken our souls. That's the beginning of the time we do what's called cheshbon hanefesh, where we kind of examine our souls. But also, it's like an ambulance. You hear it and you know what to do, right? You need to pay attention, so pay attention to this.
I don't know that I've ever been compared to an ambulance before. Okay. When our social action, social justice group, whose names you see on the slide that's going to appear up here behind me, when we started planning our strategy, the first thing we wanted to do was find out what our congregation members are already doing in the community. The responses to the survey so far have identified over 100 different places where we Micah folk donate time, energy, talent, and money. Several ask us to explain the difference between social action and social justice. On the one hand, it's really not important. It's all tikkun olam, that work we're required to do but not required to complete. Briefly, though, we define social action as random, though possibly frequent, single-focused acts contributing to a toy drive, sorting at Second Harvest, preparing food, or serving it at an event. Social action, however, or social justice, on the other hand, includes longer-term, more scheduled commitments, serving on boards or committees, joining a NOAA task force. It was important and essential to know what all people are doing before asking them to do something else. We wanted to acknowledge and honor all the work already being done. So then we developed the mission statement that you see here behind me to support, encourage, and facilitate the Micah membership's social action and social justice work, holding true to our congregation's mission to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. We then identified 4 major responsibilities for the committee, all C's, by the way. Connect. We're going to identify a theme for the year to connect us to the needs of our larger community and serve as a focus for our work in the repairing the world. We'll let you know, this is communicate, when there are opportunities to engage in social action and social justice as frequently and as completely as we can. We will provide Micah contacts for different organizations, so when you're ready to join, you can easily find a way in. And finally, we will come up with some opportunities for engagement that connect, again, with the work of our other Micah committees and groups. We've selected as our theme for this year, affordable housing. To learn more about this issue and to join right in our works of social justice, we have chosen affordable housing, which extends far beyond mere affordability. So come join us on Yom Kippur afternoon for a panel discussion in which NOAA Affordable Housing co-chair Kay Bowers and Metro Councilwoman Zulfat Suara have already agreed to participate.
Thank you. Let me lower this a bit. Some of you may know that I've spent the last 6 years of my life engaged in a national movement to bring civility and justice to our country. The best lesson I learned from this experience was the change that really comes from the grassroots, from community. What better community to make positive changes in the lives of Nashville citizens than here at Micah? As you've heard from Ron, the Social Justice Social Action Committee is committed to communicating, coordinating, creating, and connecting. We'll not only do this by having a year-long focus or theme, just as Ron shared, but by making these 4 actions available on a member-to-member basis. To that end, our committee has created the Social Action Survey directory of organizations that you all named in the survey that you took. It's divided into 2 parts. The first one is organizations where one or more contacts. Now, a contact is an active member who's working in that organization, has agreed to help you get started. These contacts are familiar with the organization and will connect you. We also hope that they keep up the great work they're doing and that we see their names in a leadership role in those organizations sooner than later. Part 2 of this directory is a listing of other organizations that members listed on the survey but find that they can't serve as a contact at this time. We hope that you will see some of these and say, hey, I'd like to help folks get involved. As connectors, our committee will serve as a clearinghouse of these opportunities for you, our MICA community, and will constantly add to the list, update the contacts, and grow our impact on Nashville. So, last slide. Can we add you to the list, or can we interest you in the following ways? Number one, there's only 8 of us on the committee. Join us. We need more people. We want to grow. If you have an interest in this, or you have some good skills, come on board. There's never too many of us. Number 2, participate in the yearly focus. This one is affordable housing. You'll learn a lot at the panel, and you'll have a lot of opportunity to find ways that suit you, that you can connect with this very important community-based initiative. And then finally, please visit the new social justice directory, that's a mouthful, and it is going to be housed on ShulCloud. And thanks to Gabriel's help and the help of the staff at MICA, it will go live tonight. Ooh, I was waiting for that. So, find your passion, call if the contact or one of the listed contacts that you'd like to help with, and begin your journey of Tikkun Olam, to take action to improve or repair the world. Thank you.
Very appreciative to the committee for taking hold of what is an important value. It's part of our mission. We also like to build community. We're going to do this quickly because we got some special guests and we want to get to them. Is anybody celebrating a birthday tonight? Sometime this week, last week. We got a birthday? Outstanding. Can we get a happy birthday to the raised hands? Yeah. Anniversaries? Do we have any special anniversaries? Next week. Anniversary of? Oh, it's your birthday as well. Okay, well, happy birthday. We'll hear from you later. Is there someone, what do you got? 25th anniversary. They love the attention. Gabriel, swing the camera away from them, please. What do you got? I mean, how many years? 19 years. This is what I'm going to say for you and for all the birthdays and for everybody celebrating the happy things. Everybody says.
Amen.
We thank this power in the universe that created us and that helps us along the way and enables us to celebrate happy occasions together. I'm going to invite those for that it is not difficult to please rise. I'm going to ask this group to please come help me at the Torah for our central prayer, the Amidah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el hagadol hagibur ve'hanora el elyon gomel chasadim tovim ve'koneh hakol ve'zocher chastei avot ve'imahot umevi geula livnei v'neihem lema'an shemo be'ahava Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen Baruch Ata Adonai Magen Avraham ve'Izrat Sarah Ata Gibor le'olam Adonai Mechaye ha'kol Ata Rav le'Hoshia Mohorid ha'atam Mechalkel chayim bechesed Mechaye ha'kol berachamim rabim Somech noflim ve'rofei cholim Umatir asurim Umekayem emunato Lishenei afar Michamocha ba'al gevurot Umido melach מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה על החיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We take just a few moments for our own silent thoughts and prayers, and when you are done, you may be seated. So it's always around our central prayer that we take a few moments to think about people in this community, people you may know of in other communities that are in need of a blessing for healing. Right now, we're thinking about Dr. Richard Heller and Amy Drangowski, Ira Shivitz, I hope that arm's getting better, Eddie Sandberg, John Mitchell, and Clayton Ivey, Baxter Overton, Hillary Weinstein, Jeff Margolis. Those are just the names that I've been provided. If you're thinking of someone, we invite you to say their names and to go ahead and say it loud. We think of all those people in Hawaii. We think of all those people everywhere in the world that need a little bit more love and a little bit more shalom, a little bit more wholeness and peace. And we invite you to sing with us.
May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing and let us say Amen. Sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Okay, we're going to get to it now. I put the word out. We are not a political organization. We are a religious one. And one of the many reasons that your rabbis really don't preach politics from this pulpit is the fact that clever clergy can really make the Bible say just about anything. Endorsing candidates violates our IRS tax status, so we don't do that either. Plus, if we say anything into the microphone up here and you don't get to respond, then there's no sikha, there's no conversation. And there's no dissenting opinions. And we Jews love dissenting opinions. And almost as much as we love justice. So tonight, we will all be witnesses to a very powerful conversation. And this evening, we are going to talk less about the future and as much as we can, like Torah study, to learn from the past, because we want to work for a better future. And our name as a large people is Yisrael, and that means to wrestle with God, and to wrestle with Torah, and to wrestle with the contemporary issues of the day. And since the Rice Age began, back in 2006, we have always invited guests here, scholars and clergies of different faiths, other public figures, to teach us their Torah. And because each one of us is a Torah. We all have our own lived experiences, and they will always be more real than anything you read in a book. You know they happen to you. And so tonight we have two special guests who experienced something as members of the Tennessee legislature that caught the attention of the entire world. We're certain of it because we were in England, and people were like, "You're from there?" Yeah. So after some time now for them to reflect, we're anxious to learn what inspired them to be who they are and to do what they did. And so for those that need just a little bit of context, Justin Canoe of the Tennessee Hour was happy to provide us with a little bit of context. Okay, some people were even there. So let me do this. We want to learn from their experience. Let me tell you exactly who they are, and then Rabbi Laurie is going to get to the good stuff. Gloria Johnson retired from teaching with 27 years of experience educating special needs children. And her family has been in East Tennessee, if I got it right, for generations, but she really was actually born in Colorado, which just makes us like you more. Her family moved to California, Mississippi. Her father's work took him there as an FBI special agent. And by 7th grade, Gloria was back in Tennessee. In 2008, she was bestowed a unique opportunity to train alongside Barack Obama's campaign team, and obviously applied what she learned and organized hundreds of volunteers in Knox County. And then in 2009, she was elected Knox County Democratic Party chairwoman and was subsequently reelected for the position in 2011. Gloria, others who may not know, the first woman to win a statewide election in Tennessee, the first woman to chair the Tennessee Democratic Party, Jane Eskin, founding member here of Congregation Micah, and she currently resides in our cemetery out back. Serving in the 108th General Assembly as a strong advocate for public education, affordable health care, and to our Tennessee environment, and high-quality jobs and good wages, Gloria Johnson gives voice to students, teachers, and hardworking families. Here she is answering the question of why she was not expelled as her colleagues were.
Yes, and we're going to fight hard to get him back. I will answer your question. It might have to do with the color of our skin.
Okay. You don't have to, you know. I was thinking that we're going to want to clap for them for a lot, but we're going to try and maintain the sanctity of our space and maybe clap at the end. We're going to try. Justin Jones was born in California. Again, we like that. He has fought for justice since childhood. He was a college student at Fisk University and organized folks to advocate for health care and against racist policing. He led campaigns for the expansion of Medicaid in Tennessee and to the repeal of the restrictive state or voter ID. For almost a decade, he has been involved and spoken truth to power at our state capitol. And here he is greeting a bunch of Jewish students at the White House. Let's see. All right. Let's get him up here.
Okay, ooh, that works. All right, thank you so much for joining us tonight. So the words of Micah 6:8 are our guiding compass. Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly. We are equally inspired by the biblical Aaron, who was known as a Rodef Shalom, a pursuer of peace. And yet, while our Torah prescribes the necessary behaviors and actions that define doing justly, the Torah also recognizes that it's not always clear what that means. Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, justice, justice, you shall pursue. Why twice? Because my idea of justice and your idea of justice might look very different. So sometimes, and you've certainly demonstrated, that doing justly requires us to break barriers and be disruptors. How do we know when to cross over? How to hold our stance? How to be bold? We've invited you here, as Rabbi Flip said, not as political figures so much, but as change makers and Rodfei Shalom, pursuers of peace, to share your story, what compels you to do justly, and how you attempt to do it with humility. So, first question. Dr. Rabbi Eliezer Berkowitz, Alav HaShalom, who wrote and lectured extensively on issues of faith, spirituality, and law, said this: to seek justice is to relieve the oppressed. How else are the oppressed to be relieved if not by judging the oppressor and crushing the ability to oppress? History is not a Sunday school where the question is to forgive or not to forgive. The toleration of injustice is the toleration of human suffering. Since the proud and the mighty who inflict the suffering do not, as a rule, yield to moral persuasion, responsibility for the sufferer demands that justice be done so that the oppression be ended. We're curious as to what parts of your past, your faith or spiritual upbringing, if you had one, your experiences in school or life led you to be the person that you are today and to have the values that you have.
Okay. There are lots of them, but I have to go back to when I was a kid. We lived in Jackson, Mississippi. This might be hard. And sorry. Just a kid. They mentioned that my father was in the FBI, and a Jewish synagogue was bombed, probably less than a mile from our house. My father, we could hear it actually when it happened, and my father called his partner. They thought they knew what it might be because they had been watching some folks. And he went and picked up his partner. They went to one of the addresses of one of the leaders of the Ku Klux Klan and arrested 3 members right then in the driveway that were pulling up. And then they knew that there were more people involved. And so they, the Klan threatened to kill our whole family. So we had to move out of our home for several weeks while the FBI lived in our house and they rounded up the rest of the people involved. So that was my experience with justice and hatred and seeing that some people are capable of anything and knowing that. So that was big for me.
And we can give you a little bit of a breather if you have more to add, and we can pass to Justin for a moment. But thank you very much for sharing that story.
Yeah, I just want to honor that experience because, we're living in a time where that same ideology of white supremacy and racial terrorism is once again rearing its head in this nation, condoned at the highest levels of our government. And I think that we have to be cognizant that there are people saying we want to take this nation back. And if we're not careful, they will take us back to a time of love and justice. Started going to Vanderbilt Divinity School. I kind of left to run for office, but I was at the Divinity School. But I say that my grandmother, Harriet, and Tessie have more divinity in their big toe than that whole Divinity School. They're the ones who taught me what it's like to embody our faith. My family left the South, actually from West Tennessee, fleeing the terrorism of Jim Crow, moving to Chicago, and that's how I ended up being born in California. And I didn't know this story when I was born until I came back here, so I say that my ancestors called me back here on my dad's side. And then on my mom's side, my family are indigenous and Filipino, and my grandmother left when we had a dictator, Marcos. And my Lola, as what I call her, told me stories growing up of the tanks coming to run over protesters and how the nuns kneeled in front of the tanks and said, if you're going to run them over, you have to run us over. And literally put their faith into action, use their faith as something that was active, not just something that was theory, but something that was in practice. And so that was kind of my experience growing up, but also growing up as a black student in a school district where I would hear white students who would speak out in class and they'll be called articulate and inquisitive. And if I spoke and asked questions like, why are we celebrating Columbus Day? I'll be told that I'm disruptive and insubordinate. I didn't just get kicked out of the legislature, I got kicked out of 2nd and 4th grade as well. And so...
Sounds just like the legislature.
And so, yeah, that's a little bit of my story.
Thank you both. So the Jewish people divide the Bible into sections, portions, if you will, and we read the same parts all over the world each week. So this week we're reading from the Torah portion that we call Shoftim, which means judges. It's Hebrew for judges. And in it we get this very famous line, which I already referenced, Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdof, justice, justice you shall pursue. And as I mentioned, the Torah repeats this term, and rabbis and other scholars have noticed this for generations, of course, and deliberated over it, discussed it, and argued about it, and they offer a variety of reasons for why it's repeated. They tell us of the need to question our own judgments. Justice you shall pursue, but is it justice, or are you simply calling it justice? Just because we use the word doesn't always mean we are pursuing the real thing. So examine it again just to make sure that it's justice. That's the repetition. That it's justice and not something else that you are in fact pursuing. Well, this past April, the two of you faced expulsion votes from the Tennessee General Assembly. So let's start Bereshit at the beginning. What happened? Frame it for us in a few minutes. Walk us through it briefly. Describe how it all felt, if you would, and where you found the courage to do what you did.
I guess I would say we talked about it a little bit in advance. What are we going to do? How are we going to make people listen? Are they going to allow us to speak? Our voices had been silenced throughout the session. And, Justin knew what was going to come and knew that we would, kind of be gagged at this. And what can we do when that happens? And we never came up with a plan, but we sort of talked about, Rep. John Lewis and Good Trouble and what they did with gun violence and sat in on the House floor. We talked about things like that. That's kind of how it started, I think, or before the event. And then as we got there, for me, talking to those moms that came up to me that morning before session and said, I just dropped my kids off at school. I'm not sure if they'll be safe when I meet the bus or when I go pick them up. Literally tears in their eyes, concerned as they dropped their kids off to school to come to protest. Some of them had toddlers on their shoulders with them. There were students everywhere. But these were people telling us their fears and their concerns, and they wanted it to be addressed. And we wanted to say, we see you, we hear you, we care about this issue, and we are with you. That's what we wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, it started with 3 9-year-olds and 3 adults being massacred in school, a place that should be safe. And we were sitting in Government Operations Committee when we heard it. And we were not even allowed to talk about the issue of guns. We're not even allowed to address what had just happened. All they would allow were moments of silence and false solutions of putting more locks on doors, more police in schools, Band-Aids to something that is a deeper systemic issue that is uniquely American, this proliferation of weapons of war on our street. And so a few days later, when thousands of students and mothers and clergy and grandmothers and grandfathers and parents and community members descended on the Capitol, and our colleagues on the other side chose to close their eyes and close their ears to the voices of the people, we knew that we had to do something that was out of the ordinary to elevate and to create tension around an issue that should not have happened. A lot of people forget that Covenant is not the first mass shooting in Nashville. One of my constituents, Shondell Brooks, lost her son in the Waffle House mass shooting. And we know that if we don't act, it will not be the last mass shooting in Nashville. And so unlike here, our microphones were cut off. So as Sister Gloria knows, I had a megaphone in my pocket.
I always carry one too.
And the most ridiculous thing is that the majority, the leadership group, is so much more threatened by a megaphone than they are from AR-15s and weapons of war that are terrorizing our kids. That is immoral and unjust. And maybe I'm just sitting here thinking about why is justice repeated. Maybe it's so that you pay attention. Because sometimes you say things twice. That's what Grandma did, say it twice. Make sure you got the point. So maybe that's why justice is also repeated in what you're sharing with us. And maybe we need to repeat it at the Tennessee legislature.
So, you mentioned, Gloria, that you guys didn't really have a step-by-step plan, but you would discuss together kind of that you needed to make a bold move and to be able to have your voices be heard and to reflect the concern of your constituents and the people of Tennessee. How do you determine, and maybe you don't have an answer to this, but how do you determine what the line is?
It was so easy for me. It was. I was called. I could not sit there another moment. And just before that happened, both Justins were standing at my desk because I'm pretty close to the well, and they had just heard a bill on education that increased vouchers or something like that. I held my hand up the entire time, and they wouldn't call on me. Mm-hmm. And so it was just at that point, it's like in between bills, it's let's go, because they weren't going to listen. There was nothing we can do aside from getting in the way and doing good trouble. I don't know what else would have. I literally was just drawn to the well.
Yeah. And I don't think it was planned this way, but I think that it was powerful that, the 3 of us represent the 3 grand divisions of this state. Sister Gloria's in East Tennessee, Brother Pearson's West, I'm here in Middle Tennessee, and all were invited to join, but something beyond us led us to that well, to draw attention to what was happening in the galleries and outside, the people who were saying we cannot have business as normal, because business as normal is the massacre of children in school. And so it was something that transcended us. I think even in that moment, it's not anything that could be planned. But when we talk about the line, I think the line is really looking at this type of the strategy of nonviolence, where first you try to negotiate. We try to be heard on committee. We try to have our voices heard, silenced. So what other option do you have but to create this creative type of tension, to force a conversation, to force them to see an issue that they would rather sweep under the rug until it happens again? And so, I think that the line is really putting a microphone to those who are hurting, to pain, those who are in pain, and not to those who are in power, but going to those who are suffering, those who are traumatized, those who are fearful, who are weeping, those who are hurting, and putting the microphone and letting their voices be amplified. And that's our job as not politicians, but as public servants, is to really hold a microphone to the voices of our people. And that when they silence us, it's not just silencing Gloria and Justin, but they're silencing over 70,000 people each who we represent. That's who's being silenced.
And to watch our colleagues, there were lots of videos circulating, to watch our colleagues walk in and say, and not even look, not make eye contact, and not have a conversation with those hurting kids and those hurting parents, and then tell lies later that they, rushed the doors and that they did these things and that they were spitting. Kids were yelling, protect us, what are you going to do? No one spit. Sometimes when you're yelling, but no one spit on anyone. That just didn't happen. But the lies that were told after about these people that were hurting, it's just soul crushing.
Well, Elie Wiesel, again, Alava Shalom, would tell the story of the one righteous man of Sodom who would walk the streets protesting against the injustices of the city. You may have seen this guy downtown on Broadway or in Vegas or New York or wherever. One day, a child innocently asks the guy, "Why do you continue to protest against evil? Can't you see that no one's paying any attention to you?" And the guy says, "I'll tell you why I continue. In the beginning, I thought I would change people. Today, I get that I cannot. If I continue my protest, at least I will prevent others from changing me." So we Jews have values that are often counter to those of the prevailing culture. We imagine that this might be the case for you as your role as public figures. How do you go about navigating it?
Yeah. I think I wanted to start by just sharing a story of my first week of the legislature. We were actually getting ready to go to the governor's inauguration, and I was on the elevator, and Senator Jack Johnson, whoever lives in Williamson County, I'm sorry, that's your senator. Senator Jack Johnson saw me, and Gloria knows this because it was shocking to me. I didn't even know how to respond. Felt like he had to tell me, "You are worthless, and you shouldn't be here." First week. And it was this recognition to me that, okay, this is the environment. Even as an elected official, they will never see me as someone who deserves to be here, who's welcome to be here. Someone who comes as a Black, Indigenous, Filipino, with my ancestry, with long hair. And, I do not fit their model of who should be a lawmaker. And I recognize that was a reality check for me, a reminder that, I'm not here to make friends, but I'm here to make change. And that is our calling there, is that we are there to be a catalyst, to be an accelerant for change that is so desperately needed in this state. We're not there to get invited to the governor's Christmas party. We're not there invited to be a part of the hunting caucus or to go play golf. We're there to elevate the voices of those who are suffering in our state. The prophet Isaiah said, "Woe to those who pass unjust laws that hurt the poor and rob them of their rights." We're there to be a dissenting voice in the midst of a body that is so drunk with power. It's not even about left or right, but it's about right and wrong. And we have people who are so fearful of change and who are so drunk with this hubris that they're even willing to hurt their own people. And when I got expelled, I think one of the last things I said on the floor as I was making my closing speech was, I want to let all those gathered who I knew were going to expel me, because I knew from the day one they didn't want me there, so I knew they were going to expel me. I said, I want you to know that I'm fighting for your children and grandchildren too. That's what we are doing. What we are doing is even for generations that are yet unborn. And so I think that it's so important through every age of history that there is a voice of moral dissent amidst the madness. Particularly in a body like that, it's so important that you have voices who would challenge. And we see that what we're seeing is that courage is contagious. That so many people, I've had so many people who are non-political. I think we've had more people learn about the legislature this year than ever before. People said, we're tuning in, we know who Cameron is, we know who Cameron Sexton, we know I was like, they said, we didn't even know who these people were, but now we watch them and we know that he doesn't live in his district, we know, all this type of stuff. And so, I mean, people know who they are, and so we just have to continue to, Amnesty International, which is a human rights group, they had a quote, they said, don't curse the darkness, but light a candle. And so, we have to light in there, and I think it's so important that we do it together too, because we cannot do this alone. We are connected, and this is my dear sister Gloria. From time we were out protesting in the streets to now, we're not islands. We have to be connected in community that is multiracial, multi-generational, multi-faith. It's so important for us to build this movement, and to also, this is the last thing I'll say, is that Southern segregationists had a saying that the South will rise again. This is what they would tell people. But we come with a new mandate to say that the South will rise anew. A new South is rising, and it begins with each of us here.
And I guess, an important part of that is it's also, I guess I don't see it as courage. I just did what I felt was right and was compelled to do right in that instance. And I hope I am always compelled to do what I think is right. The frustrating thing to me, and the reason I feel, and we feel so strongly about always standing up and always speaking up, sometimes, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, you try to go along to get along, and you find yourself gradually losing that voice. I don't want to be the one to get in trouble. A couple of years ago, I was the only person out of 99 who didn't vote for the speaker because he didn't share my values, and so I was not going to cast that vote for him. And I was given a closet for an office. That was my punishment. For a year, I had literally an office the size of a closet. And we have to stand up no matter what the consequences to ourselves, to our caucus, whatever, because what is happening is so dangerous. We're losing our democracy. Justice is going by the wayside, and it is critical, as far as I'm concerned, that every time we see an injustice that we stand up and speak to it, no matter what the cost. And I can say I have so many women have come up to me across the country, white women for the most part, thanking me for showing them how to stand up and what they can do, and causing them to think about the times maybe that they didn't and they should have. And so I just am so thankful that that's what a lot of people took for it. And it's literally the first thing that they say to me very often. And so it's just, we've all got to stand up and speak up when we see these injustices and do everything that we can. Because if we don't, we're in deep trouble.
Well, I want to thank you both so much. It's truly a pleasure for us to hear your story and to reflect on our own passions for justice in the midst of your own. As Justin and I were sharing our shared heritage of being from California before the service began, I said that oftentimes people will say to me, why do you live in Tennessee if you're from California? Why would you move there and stay there? And Rabbi Flip always says, because we're fighting the good fight in Tennessee. They need us there. It's easy in places like New York and LA. But I think that we very much do need you here. And we need your passion and your drive to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly. And, I'll close with just the story of Honi the circle maker, who, was apparently walking down the road and saw this older man, in his later years planting a carob tree. And the carob tree takes generations for it to bear fruit. And Honi said, why are you planting that tree? You're never going to get to enjoy the fruit of that tree. And he said, I'm not planting it for me. I'm planting it for the generations to come. And so we thank you deeply from the bottom of our hearts for planting seeds for the generations to come in our great state. So, thank you.
We are going to have you stay standing, if that's possible, while we take a few moments here at the end of our service, not just to sing together, but to think about all those people who still touch our lives through memory. Currently, we are still mourning the passings of David Alberts, Zachary Gendy, Trudy Levy, Charles Strobel, Mimi Mitchell, Isa Stanza Burns, Joan Harshman, Ralph Gordon, Jeffrey Davis, Harvey Spark, Donald Pillen, Sam Nickel, Ann Norman, Rudy Saperstein, June Landsberg Weinberg, Marilyn Brenda Otis Mashabella, Evelyn Dickhouse, Hallie Scruggs, William Kinney, Cynthia Peak, Catherine Kuntz, and Mike Hill of the Covenant School, Stephen Bender, Janet Wallach, Mark Siegel, Sonia Gitchner, Scott Peters, Henry Krakauer, Lynn Davidson, Avi Poster, Wayne Ritt, Jacqueline Glassner, Elizabeth Betty McDonald, Julie Babbitt Kingsley, Stephen Harold Biller, David Sam Oleszensky, Dewey Simpson, Paul Richter, Burton Barnett, James Tom Ward Thomas, Nancy Jean Riss, Irving Lloyd Greenberg, Thomas Glynn, Zelda Escrow, Irving Deutschman, Conrad Raymond Jacobs, Margaret Friedman Vaughn, Harry A. Sevier, Philip Ginsberg, Trevor Clark, Steve Geringer, Robert Charles Levine, and Bertram Humboldt Chalfant, Jr. We also recall on the anniversaries of their deaths, Ada Dubin, Cornelia Geschweiler, Daisy Lynn Fisher, Dr. Edward Stein, Dr. Paul Ramsey Michael, Esther Stein, Gilbert Fox, Jr., Gilbert Lawrence Given, Sr., Harry Zeitlin, Henry Zalman, Herman Streisand, the Honorable Milton Pollock, Joel Copenhagen, Catherine L. Zander, Katie Beltsky, Laura Cass Hockman, Mary A. E. Surface, Simon Riss, Nathan Tarr, Rachel Wallach, Ruth M. Bookstein, Sandra Solon, Sarah Blumenthal, Shirley Davis, Suzanne Weinstein, Sylvia Wolf, Theodore Shapiro, and Tristan Gabriel Numbers. If there's names I've neglected to say or ones you'd like to say aloud. We think of all people who have been a blessing to humanity, and we invite you to join us in the words of Kaddish Yatom, our mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, ve'alma divra kirute v'yamlik malchute, b'chayachon uv'yomachon uv'chaye dekol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'alam ulalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemed kudisha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We ask that the great source of peace send peace to all people who are mourning, comfort to anyone who may feel bereaved, and we say one final time together, amen. I'm not going to let you sit. We're going to do a closing song.
That's right.
And then a kiddush. We made slides.
So I was inspired to sing this song because there's a great video on YouTube of Representative Jones singing this with Joan Baez. I believe you ran into her at the airport. and sang this anthem that was created around the civil rights movement, and it's called We Shall Overcome. So please, everyone, join me. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we are not alone today. The truth will make us free. The truth will make us free. The truth will make us free. The truth will make us free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday.
Raise the cup high, Grant. Don't spill it on your white shirt, please.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen l'chaim.
Emotzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom.